Today I'll show you how to replace the heater core in your Jeep CJ7. Let's check it out. We're looking here at the passenger side of the firewall. I went ahead and removed the battery tray just to give us some extra room. Now, first thing you're going to want to do is remove your two heater hoses that are coming off the heater core. My heater core is leaking, so I bypassed my hoses, and that's why mine are unplugged already. You'll also want to unplug your blower motor connection, which is going to be right around here somewhere. Mine is gone completely. We'll have to address later, and then remove this drain hose off the bottom. Now we got 4 nuts holding the heater box to the firewall. One here, down here by that drain, one right up above the heater core, and then one all the way back here behind the motor. And these are 7/16. I had these soaking with some PB for a little bit. I'm using hand tools, that way I can kind of get a feel if they're rotted out or are gonna break like that. We're at the passenger side footwell here, and there's this cover here with a bunch of screws around the perimeter. And if we remove all those, this cover can come off. And we have a cable attached here, so we'll just pull that end off and then pop it out from the housing. And we can unplug the blower motor resistor. And the reason, if we take it off right here, that separates the lower half from the upper half of the box here. If you wanted to remove this upper half, you would have to take all the screws off of the fresh air intake on the cowl. Since all we're worried about is changing the heater core out, we can just take out the lower box. Also, if you want to remove your glove box for a little bit more access, there's just a bunch of screws around the perimeter holding in this plastic glove box. Especially if you need to get at this cable bracket right here. That helps a lot, having that out of the way. Now right in the middle, right by your transmission tunnel, we have 2 more cables that we need to disconnect, and then the box should be ready to come out. This is your defrost cable. Down here is your temp cable, which mine is already disconnected because this cable or something inside the box is seized up, and this is really hard to move. So all we gotta do is pop that off, and now the box should be free. Let's give it a yank. With the heater box out of the Jeep, we can disassemble it here on the workbench, and that's just all these Phillips screws around the perimeter. Get this little gasket off of here and see if we can separate this. There's a little stud here. That's for the arm to pivot on. Just a little retaining plate on the top there. Now we should be good. And there's, oh, coolant. This is not the right heater core. We're back with the correct heater core now. It seems like 77 is the year that they changed everything, because that first heater core I ordered was advertised to fit a 77. It's probably the easiest part of the whole job is swapping out the heater core. There's 2 5/16 bolts on the front. Pull that right on out. You can see the 2 holes where it mounts up, and just making sure our new one has it, and it does, and they look pretty much the same. My new heater core came with some of these felt sealing strips to put on the top and bottom. You can see from factory they had something, some kind of foam or whatever. And the spacer. Now that the heater core is installed, we're going to focus on the box itself. There's another piece of that factory crumbly foam at the back here. And this is the area where the heater core is going to slide in. So we're going to take one more strip of the supplied foam and run it on the back, just like the factory was set up. The only thing to concern yourself with when you put the front half of the box back on is the 2 doors with the pins sticking up on the top side. Making sure that they drop in to their corresponding holes on the faceplate. We'll slide this in. We got our 2 halves put together here. We got that rectangular retaining clip holding that door. I just put a speed nut on here. I couldn't find the clip. So we got all of our perimeter bolts in here, and we're just gonna go around, tighten everything up. Should be good to go. Now that the box is reassembled, if your blower motor works okay, you'd be ready to throw it back in the Jeep, bolt everything back together, you'd be good to go. But I'm replacing the blower motor. The lead for my wire broke off. It's just 5 of those 5/16 bolts, and this pulls right out. But one issue with the new replacement blower motor is the diameter of the motor is a little bit larger than the factory one. So we need to hollow out the firewall a little bit. We'll head over to the Jeep. I'll show you how to do that. The ideal way to do this would be to use a 3.5-inch hole saw and just waller out the hole in the firewall a little bit. But I don't possess a hole saw, so we're gonna improvise a little bit. What I'm gonna do is just make a bunch of little slits with the Sawzall here around the perimeter of the factory hole. We'll take a hammer and kind of knock everything out. There There we go. Now, if your Jeep is nicer than mine, use a hole saw, probably. Because that it's not the prettiest, but it's gonna work. Now that we know it'll fit, we're gonna transfer this hamster wheel over to the new motor, and that's just a 3/8 nut. We can reinstall. The flat edge goes towards the middle, and all 5 of the holes line up. This gasket spacer came off the old one, but being that the diameters are a little different, we'll see if it's gonna work or not. Might have a little bit of stretch to it. Cool. Looks like that'll work. This oval shaped ducting is the defrost duct, and I didn't show it yet because this has been sitting in my parts cabinet for the CJ for years and never really got around to installing it. So I'm gonna slide it. There's a duct here on top of the box. We are ready to throw this box back in the Jeep. Hopefully that duct is gonna hold with that zip tie, but we're ready to wrestle the heater box back into the Jeep here. So we got those couple studs we need to line up that actually mount the box. And we got the 2 coolant ports and then the blower motor. Started. There we go. All 3 are started. We only got 3 now because that bottom one broke off, which I ain't even worried about. That defrost duct inlet is right up top here. Let's see if we can get this lined up on there. I got it. What? That wasn't too bad. Crank down these mounting bolts. When you go to install this cap here, you want to make sure that the door is flipped up like that. Because if it's down and when you go to tighten the bolts, it's going to get stuck and you won't be able to close it. And it should be spring loaded, so that's kind of the position it wants to stay in. And it's also a little bit easier to get this cable hooked up here before we install. And we'll snug it all down. Plug in the blower motor resistor right here. And I hooked up our other 2 cables, and that one is no longer seized. I just chucked it up in the vise and squirted some PB down the sleeve, worked it back and forth with a screwdriver a couple times, and it's nice and free now. And then there's our defrost. Pretty cool. Should pretty much be wrapped up on the inside. One additional problem with my CJ specifically is I don't have any kind of wire to plug into here. So I had to go digging. Was looking at the wiring diagram and figured out I was looking for a tan wire. There's this brown wire all coiled up right here. Quick test with the battery hooked up. With the test light, you can see no power when I touch it. Switch on the blower fan and we have power. So this is our fan wire. I'm gonna wrap this over, that way I can plug it in. Got her wired up, and I used one of the female blade connectors with the little rubber sleeve on it, that way don't ground out on anything. Let's see if 1, the blower motor works, and 2, if the resistor works for all the different blower speeds. All right, so it works. Try 2. Cool. We're in good shape. Plugged it in, assembled the battery tray. Now don't forget the little vent hose that needs to go on the bottom here. And last thing to do here is reattach our coolant line. Try and do this pretty quick, but the one coming from the water pump goes to the bottom of the heater core. And then obviously the hose from the intake manifold goes up top. Everything now completely buttoned up, fancy funnel installed, filled with coolant. So we'll fire it up. We're gonna make sure the heater core is not leaking, and then we'll give it some time to warm up, wait for that thermostat to open, see if we got heat. Here we go. Turn on the blower, max temperature, and heat. Now I did spill a little, so it is burning off. I think we know by now if it was leaking, so we're good there. We are fully up to temp and we got heat. It feels good. Take a look over here. No leaks. So, successful install. That is going to wrap it up for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it helped. And if you want to see more on my 304 CJ7, check out the playlist. Take it easy. I'll see you in the next one.